I have to say also I'm very nervous, so I apologize if I lose my words. My name is Rita, and I joined MSF in 2016. I had my first mission in car, and it ended very badly. I got burned out and been sent home after 6 months instead of doing my 9 months. I was working very, very hard. I jumped into the humanitarian world with a lot of enthusiasm and dedication, working 14 to 16 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week, and spending the rest of my time looking after my team, completely forgetting to look after myself and getting the much needed rest that is necessary to complete such long assignments. So after a few months of rest, I gave it another try. And since then, it's just been an amazing experience after an amazing experience. I think you mentioned all the missions I've been, but the last one was Yemen, and I will tell you a story about Yemen. But before that, I will start by telling you a little bit about my job as a project coordinator. So I think it's quite straightforward to know what a nurse is doing or what a doctor is doing, but I think for the other profiles like logisticians and HR and finance and project coordinators, it's a bit more vague, I suppose. So I'll start with that. As a project coordinator, my two main responsibilities. So the first one is to manage the team. So make sure all the support departments, which are HR, finance, logistics, and supply chain, are working together to make available all the resources for the medical team to do their job and save lives. And this is the fun part of my job. The other part of my job is I'm security responsible for the team. And that's a very, very, very stressful thing to do because I have to make sure my team is safe. And when you're working in a very high insecure context like Syria or DRC or even Haiti or recently Yemen, on a daily basis, I have to make very difficult decisions about movements, letting my team go to the hospital. Is it safe? Is it not safe? Making sure the place where we stay is protected, making sure there are security protocols, everyone is following them. And yeah, that is definitely the biggest challenge for me, is to find that right balance between taking an acceptable level of risk, as we call it in MSF, and making the operations possible. Sorry, I'm a little bit shaky. Okay, Morocco won today. Yay. As you all understood, I'm from Morocco originally. So story about Yemen. I'm going to start by giving you a little bit of information about the Yemen context. So the war started in Yemen in 2015. The war basically split the country in two. So people know of Yemen, but it's actually two countries going on now with two governments, two currencies, and a front line separating the two. And despite the continuous several truces that are signed by both parties, fighting is actually ongoing, and people are still dying every day because of the bombing, the shelling, the shooting, and also because there is no access anymore to basic healthcare or clean water or food. So this is Yemen in few words. Then there is Taiz city. So the country is split in two. The north is under the Houthi control, and the south is under the internationally recognized government. And I was assigned to a city called Taiz, which is in the south part of the country. So Taiz is located in a very high mountains, and it's a 7 hours drive from Aden. Aden is the only airport, one of the only airports left in the southern part, and this is where MSF international team arrives. we can't fly to Yemen. We have to go to Djibouti and then take a little MSF or ICRC plane to get to Yemen. So we arrive to Aden and then have to drive 7 hours through this very beautiful landscape of first desert and then mountains. And then we arrive to this very nice but heavily destroyed city of Taiz city. Okay. So the Taiz city itself is split by the front line. We were basically based at about 1.2 miles from the front line. So on a daily basis, we could hear the shelling and the shooting, and sporadic fighting and injuries from snipers will remain a problem because of the blockage and the fighting. Getting anything out or in of Taiz it's a big challenge. And in the case of my story, the shortage was fuel. So I think it was there for a couple of weeks. And on a Friday morning, very early, I received a call from the hospital, from some staff saying that the hospital was shutting down. MSF runs the maternity unit in this hospital. So MSF was in Taiz, was one of the first organization actually in Taiz. And the only organization with international staff presence since 2017. The other NGOs think it's too risky, it's too unstable and too volatile context to have international staff. So we were the only international staff in Taiz city. And in 2017, MSF was mainly a donation program. So we were giving supplies and incentive to Ministry of Health to run 3 hospitals. But in 2021, June 2021, MSF made a decision to have more hands-on work and take on the maternity maternity unit in one of the hospitals. So that was that's the hospital I'm talking about. I received the call. That's where my team works, and I received the call saying that the hospital was shutting down because they have no fuel. So. Okay, a little bit of a moment of panic. So first of all, I need to verify the information. So I called the hospital director and say, I heard this rumor, is it true? He said, yeah, it's true. I said, what about our maternity? He said, your maternity is still running, but not for very long. I said, what does that mean exactly? He said 6 hours. So they had 6 hours of fuel. So I asked about the ER as well, even though we are not responsible of the ER. Emergency room is also one key department that needs to stay open. So we had 6 hours to find fuel or another solution. So I obviously called all my team, even though it was Friday and it's a day off. Friday's day off in Yemen. But we all sat around the table and I said, we need to find a solution. So I asked the medical team to first assess the situation in terms of number of patients that we have in the hospital, how many patients are in a critical state, how many babies are in the incubator, how many we can send home, how many we can't, and for those who we can't, what is the option, where can we send them, what are the other hospitals around where we can refer them to. And then with the logistic team, I started trying to find fuel. So that's of course, the best solution is to find fuel, but plan B would be to find a place to refer the critical patients. By that time, I walked down to the house. We live in the base is split between the house and the offices. So by that time, I walked to the offices and the national staff, the logistic team, Hakim, it's the logistic supervisor and the logistic manager. A lot of people are called Hakim in Yemen. They were already there. It was about 6 o'clock in the morning and they were already there. It's amazing and very, very committed people. That was one of the best things for me working in Yemen is the commitment and the dedication of the national staff. Very hardworking, very trustworthy, and very dedicated to what they do. They were already there. They'd already been to the hospital to verify the information because they didn't really trust the hospital manager. So we had 100% accurate information. There were about 6 hours of fuel left in the hospital. So I called the supply manager, who was a female, the only female working in the logistic team. and I asked her to work on this. And she was very apologetic because she said, "I'm really, really sorry. I can't come to the office. There is a sniper shooting in my street." And I think that's where I really realized that what crazy world these people are living in on a daily basis. I mean, we go on assignments for a few months, we go there and we leave, and we leave a little piece of our heart, as my colleague said. It's very true. But this is their daily life. This is what they live in. And I said, "I totally understand. You don't need to come in." But she said, "Luckily today network is working, because also nothing is reliable in this context. Network works once every now and again. Nothing is reliable." So she said, "But good news is network is working today, so I can make some calls." So she started making calls, and yeah, no one could deliver. First of all, it was Friday. And then it was Eid holiday, so it was the worst combination of circumstances. Welcome to Yemen. So I was like, okay, we need to. She was calling everyone. We were begging. We were asking colleagues, other organizations, Ministry of Health, everyone who could possibly have fuel to give us or sell us fuel, anything. But there were nothing. And then at this moment. An Australian midwife just started shouting, "Let's use Olivia's fuel." So Olivia, to give you a little bit of background story, Olivia was the WATSAN. So WATSAN means water and sanitation. She's also from the UK, and she was in the project. She left by that time. She just left about a week before, and she spent the last 6 months, the 6 months of her mission building and setting up an incinerator space, and training the team to learn how to use it, because waste management is a disaster in these kind of places. So big part of her job was to set up this incinerator, and she built and secured this room where the fuel for the incinerator was, and she made sure that no one would use her fuel because she knows about the shortage, and she wanted to make sure her activities the activities of the team she left behind was going to go smoothly. So there were 2 keys that no one knew where they were except Olivia, was back in the UK playing football with her nephews, and the WhatsApp manager who was on holiday because it was Eid and it was Friday. But we managed to get in touch with him, and we managed to find where the key was hidden. It was very well hidden. And obviously I texted Olivia and said, "I'm sorry, I'm going to use your fuel, but I promise I will refill it as soon as we can." So we found the key. We ran to the hospital. We opened the room, and here we go. There were 1,500 liters of fuel. It's probably about enough to keep us going for a day, which was enough for the other suppliers to deliver. So great, we found the fuel. Now we had to take the fuel from the incinerator space to the generator space, and that was in the other side of the hospital. And we had no what's the word? Pump. We had no pump to pump the fuel from the tank and transport it. And by that time, we still had about 3 hours left on the 6 hours we were given to start with. So the team and also people from the community just started doing it literally by hand. So we just jerry cans, and they were just pumping the fuel manually into the jerry cans and carrying the jerry cans, running to the other side of the hospital and putting it in the generator. And they did that exercise for a couple of hours until we filled up the tank of the hospital. And yeah, so the hospital didn't shut down. And no one died, and all the babies were safe, and all the mothers were safe. So that was a very, very good day, and a great teamwork. And just to give you an idea about the maternity in Thais, when MSF took over that project in June 2021, the number of deliveries were just below 300, and within a month or two, We had over 500 deliveries. I think a little bit like Afghanistan, the team was suffering from the success of MSF because the quality of care just improved and the availability of drugs. And so everyone heard about MSF being in the hospital, and patients just started coming from everywhere, not only Thais, but from everywhere else. So great achievement, but a lot of work for the team. And in terms of mortality, when we came in, the mortality rate for the babies were 25%. So basically, 1 child in 4 was dying at birth. It's just difficult to even have an idea what that means. But a year after, we dropped it to 10%. I mean, the team, I didn't do much, but yeah, it was 10%. So an amazing achievement. And while I was there, we didn't have any maternal death. So you could really see the difference that MSF is making in this kind of context, and the hope it's giving to the community. This is the end of my